Hey, what's up, people? How's it going? Hope all's well. Hope everyone enjoyed their summer. As I take off every summer from my YouTube to enjoy myself. I love the summer in New York City. Had a good summer. Hey, well, today I'm going to talk about the movie Wild Style that came out about graffiti. I didn't really do too much research on it. I just said, yo, let me drop a video. And I said, yeah, that movie. I remember a lot of you guys keep asking me questions before the summertime about the movie and what I thought about the movie. And Henry, Martha Cooper, I believe it was. I really don't know much about the makings of the movie. I was young at that point. I was active. I mean, I was writing graffiti when that movie came out. Um, I think it was it was good. I watched it probably 4 times, 5 times in my life. Like the original airing when it came on Channel 13, I watched it. And I was already picking around at graffiti, fucking around. I've already went to train layups and stuff like that. So it was definitely a very interesting topic. Me and my brother both were eager to watch it that night when it came out. I remember watching the movie and be like, oh, wow, this, that. And I saw Dez, TFA in that movie. And I was, oh, shit, that's that dude. Because, I've said before, I've known Dez a long time before I even knew he wrote Dez and all that. We used to see him washing car windows, a squeegee, off of the 59th Street Bridge. That was pretty interesting because then when I saw him again, I was like, yo, this, that. He used to call me a toy, young when I was little. We used to, I talked about this before, but being we're on the subject, I used to steal newspapers from the candy stores. This is before Optimo shops even existed in New York City. I don't even think Indian. I don't even remember seeing Indians at this point early on, like people from India. And like most of the candy stores were like either an old Italian guy or a Jewish fellow or Irish or something like that, black or Puerto Rican, not Indian. So I would go about 4 something in the morning, 5 in the morning, and daily news trucks would go by and New York Post, stuff like this. They drive by and off the back of the truck, they would throw stacks of newspapers like this. And they would have, early on, it would be like a rope, a twine, not a thread, but, like a thin rope, almost like a pizza box, but thicker than that. And it was like a brown paper bag collar. They tie it around it. They throw them off the backs of these trucks. And the guy in the Optimo shop, when he would open, if he's not already open, if he wasn't a 24-hour store, which a lot of them weren't back then, the next morning they would open up and they would take these newspapers and they'd put them out for sale. And anyway, in between them getting the papers and, the store owners getting the papers and the papers being thrown off the back of the truck, in between that period of time, I would intercept and take these papers. Me and all my friends. This was a hustle we had. And we would take these newspapers and then we'd go to the exits and entrances of the 59th Street Bridge. Well, I lived right 4 doors down. Yeah, 4 doors down from the upper deck of the 59th Street Bridge where it led off in the mornings and it'd come on in the evenings. Like this traffic changed. And I would sit there on the beam. Like I said, it's like 4 buildings from my house. Originally, it was OLPH, Our Lady of Perpetual Help, school and church, which is now gone. They turned it into, I don't know, it's like some kind of medical research place or something to do with medical, maybe NYU or something like that. They bought everything in fucking Manhattan. But both's gone. And my brother was a student in OLPH school, the Catholic school. So I'd sit on the wall there. They used to call it Old Lady Poorhouse. My brother and his friends that went to school there. Me, I was in public school. So anyway, getting back to this, I'd sit there on the bridge, and when the light would stop I'd walk up to the car windows, ask them if they wanted to buy a paper. We'd sell it a little cheaper than it would actually cost if they were to purchase it. We'd sell all these papers. We'd get a little money together and buy candy or whatever the fuck it was, smoke bombs and shit like that, bubble gum, whatever. And we'd run about, and that's pretty much how we'd start our day. And Dez and most of those TFA guys from uptown, more off the river there, river houses, they would squeege windows. They would clean car windows for money. And, we had our problems. They'd get out of here, this, that. And we'd fuck with them, they'd fuck with us. And we'd go back and forth. But, we were cool, not really towards Dez's passing. My brother's in prison on a murder charge. It was all over the newspaper that he was, eating a guy or something, which it didn't say. It was the dog. And, Dez, case lay. I saw him. He was at a light. 63rd Street, lived down the corner from my mother's house at this point in his life. At least I believe that's where he was living. I used to see him there all the time. And he was asking me about my brother. Yo, what's up with your brother, man? He's on some Jeffrey Dahmer shit, man. I heard he was fucking on some cannibal shit and this and that. I told him, I said, yo, fuck that, man. What are you trying to say? I was upset at this comment. And I said he wasn't eating a person. And that's just the media and how people are and stuff like that. No, actually, I told him I never heard that. I believe that's what I told him. That I don't know nothing about it. And then he started getting into it. And that's when I was the media and stuff. I said, well, Jeffrey Dahmer was a fag. What the fuck you say, my brother? So after that, he started laughing this, that. But I never spoke to him again after that. I walked away thinking about yo, what the fuck? Is that what people thinking uptown and shit? Yo, that's crazy. This, that. And we never really met up again. Actually, no, in the Hall of Fame. And I kind of just stayed away from him. That didn't sit well with me. I guess it was joking gone a little too far for me. Maybe I become sensitive over the years or whatever. But yeah, that's the truth with that. And through that movie Star Wars, I was like, oh shit, Dez. That was pretty cool. I've seen MJ and Charles writing Graffiti before that movie came out, so I knew they were MJ and Charles, which also did windows. Not Charles Baby Zone, not the one running around doing the babies. I'm talking about Medicine Doctor Charles, TFA Charles from uptown. I know most of those TFA guys, the early on guys. And it's pretty cool seeing that movie. It's dead on, that Star Wars movie, due to the fact that this guy Henry, a photographer, literally was talking to people that were currently at that point in life writing on trains. He wasn't just some of these videos I see. It's they go to a gallery and they just start asking people. The dude might never wrote a day in his life. And all of a sudden, it's there was no vesting or no checking up on it. With that case, you didn't have to, because Henry was actually hanging out with these people. These people actually call Henry, or these children teenagers would actually call Henry and be like, yo, I just pulled off this nasty under the windows burner, man. Yo, running on the 5 line, or yo, you'll see it up on the ones, and this and that, blah, 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 blah. And he would go, it's a directional piece. He would go and wait, say, oh shit, there it comes, pick, and get nice pictures of it. So he had a working relationship with these people in the hobby of graffiti. And he was told by people that were actually involved with graffiti and were very dominantly rocking on the fucking subways at that point. Those people, I don't know. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people were in that movie, should have been in that movie, in my opinion, that weren't, So I was exposed to a lot more. When that movie came out, I was dying to see part TDS. I was yo, this, that, blah, 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 blah. I'm young at that point. I didn't know who Part was or anything like that, I met him later on in life, but, when that was coming on, I was dying to see who these icons were to me, like I said with Dez, that was wild. Oh shit, it's some dude up the block type shit. That was pretty cool. And being able to put faces to the writers, which was kind of like a no-no back then. It was almost like some Zorro shit where As a matter of fact, there was actually and that was Style Wars, Wild Style. I don't know. One of them things actually had the character of Zorro. And that's pretty interesting because it's like they hide their identity and the market is Z, and also the importance of not letting people know who you are. The gig was up at that point. For someone like me, I would say, "Oh shit!" It was interesting to see these people and have a peek into their life. A look at their life, like scene and stuff like that. That was all very interesting to me. I didn't know these people. The only graffiti writers I knew were people around my block, like Lace, ESP. Those guys I knew. Who else early on? Well, TFA guys, I knew those guys early on. ESP. Let me see who else early on. Like BVD, TNS, a couple of those fellas. Went to school with them. CB3, X-Men also. Who else? OTB, Sheen, 13, Cord. They were brothers, George and Edgar. Malganado, I knew of them. A couple other guys from up in West Harlem. I mean, I was in public school, so yeah, I met a lot of these people. Delta, Sharp early on. Roz, Cool Cat Roz, White Boy Roz, TC5 Roz, Rozzy Roz. In junior high school, I met him. I figure 83. Yeah. Yeah, 83 is actually the year I went into Wagner, I believe. Yeah. Well, a bunch of writers in there, normally off the sixes, the fours and fives, like Sharp and Des, Pate, Sash. Although Sash I knew a little bit before that because he's kind of like from my area. He's someone who kind of hung out with other people that hung out with me. Yeah. So anyway, I found that movie very informative, very interesting, and like I said, it wasn't like Fame. Remember that TV show Fame with Leroy and shit like that? It's all like fake. It's TV. So this was like a documentary that I think it's what sparked a lot of what's going on around the world as far as it goes with graffiti. It's like one of the, or if not the capital A, the number one reason graffiti has become what it's become now here, 2025 in the future. That movie, I would say, when it circulated around the world. That's all. I watch a lot of interviews, a lot of graffiti writers. I watch that guy, Can Control and No Control, West Coast podcast guy. He has all these guys on from the West Coast, and a lot of them people are like, "Oh, Style Wars." When I saw that movie, this, that. Yeah. So it's definitely the reason that graffiti shot around the world. Maybe there's a couple of books sprinkled in there too. A few books. There's a couple of books with a lot of pictures of whole cars and shit like that, and subway art, stuff like that. Also, but I don't think any of them had an impact like the movie, the documentary. I like to call it a documentary. But now, was that a good thing for graffiti or not? Because that's what I get now. A lot of people ask me, do you think graffiti's more popular today than back in the days? Now, back in the days, it was a more secluded party. Like you had to know the password. You know what I'm saying? It was like, now it's like people, I mean, I was saying this on my live a couple of days ago, maybe a week. No, I think it'll be a week Saturday. That a lot of people are actually becoming graffiti writers or street artists nowadays to become famous and to be known as the human being, and make money off it. Like it's a career move now. Back in my day, and even a little bit after me, it wasn't about the money. Like no one was making money off it, except for a couple of people went to Italy, like Delta 2, Dondi, right? A few of those people, Zephyr, I don't know, Futura, right? A couple of these guys. I think they went to the Pope or something like that, and they were painting early on. And you also had these art galleries and stuff that were selling their art. I was just talking about that in my live. I don't want to get into it too much from a couple of days ago. But yeah, money never crossed anyone's minds. I mean, we could not have a penny in our fucking pocket. It's like, I don't know. I myself would never paint on canvases. Like, it just seemed like dumb. Early on when I'm a teenager writing graffiti, and, we were children, like before teens, like pre-teen type shit when we start writing that, which was very common at that time in life. Which gets me to thinking, there's one thing that Tracy said about that movie when I asked him, Tracy 168, with that movie and this and that. He's like, yo, I was in that movie. Like, I think he's talking to Patty Astor or some shit like that. And, yeah, you can see him. And he's obviously older than most of the people there, that are other writers and stuff. But he said to me, about that movie, so like, yo, why ain't you be up in that shit, like this and that. And he's like, I don't know if this was the reason or not, but he says, why would a grown-ass man, photographer or not, want to video and follow children around in subway tunnels? Like, and I mean, I don't know the point when that movie came out. Like I said, I was 13 years old or something, 14 years old when that movie came out. So I never really thought about it, and I don't know the laws and what was on the books as far as it goes with laws back then. But in today's day and age, I would look at that as endangering the welfare of a child abuse. I mean, I know me growing up, my mother would beat my fucking ass right in the church. Like, my brother would have this little thing where he would pinch me real hard right on the stomach, Like, oh, stop. And then my mother would just go. She would bring a fucking hanger with her to church in her fucking pocketbook. And she'd bring me right over the way the candles are. She would just fucking bait me like I was a fucking dog. And like, yo, everyone be like, yeah, you hit that kid, man. Don't ever speak up in church again. And my brother would be like, and then I'd fucking pinch him and shit. Like, yeah, we're young. I mean, this is even before a 10-year-old. We're talking 8, 9, 10 years old and shit, fucking around with each other. So life was different, I guess would be the term to say. I don't even know where I was going there. But I'm a father now. Been a father. My son is 23 years old right now. 23 years old, my son. And I raised him by myself. And I would flip the fuck out if someone was taking my son, if a grown man that's a photographer was taking my son into like Utica or like into like some train layups. I don't give a fuck if the teenagers themselves are asking this man to come with them. It's that grown man to make the decision to say, nah, that's not a good idea there, kids. I mean, I grew up in Manhattan, New York City, border of Harlem. That's my area on the east side, Yorkville. And I mean, I was out there early on, 13 years old, running around. Even before that, and even before graffiti, you always had weird fucking dudes pulling up in cars, rolling down their window, talking to you, like, and this is some crazy sexual shit. Like when you're like 13, I mean, it's the reason I started carrying a pocket knife at the age of 13 years old. I mean, yeah, like that's the number one thing. Like if any time an adult like wanted to start spending time with us, we're like, yo, get the fuck out of here, man. You fucking like seriously, he would be gone. He would not be part of it at all. I mean, we even had Rodney Dangerfield, the comedian that had passed away. He lived there. He lived in the same building that Michael Rappaport, I believe, still lives in. I'm not doxing anyone or anything, but he grew up there. I've known him since I was a child. But anyway, yeah, that dude would come down all coked up and shit, or I shouldn't say that, but he would show the signs of someone that's inebriated, intoxicated, or whatever. That's that. We would give him the respect. And I mean, D3, Sammy. Literally took an eggplant. We've talked about this on the live. Took like an eggplant or chicken parmesan here. Took that shit that we stole from delivery. Like we'd see people delivering food on a bike, and we'd ride up and take that shit and just fucking go. If not, sometimes we'd actually hide in between parked cars. And when they see the bike guy coming from a block or two away, we'd have a mop stick. We're like, yo, 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 yo. So we get between cars like a fucking Spartan with this mop stick. We'd have it like this. Yeah, I got that one right here. We'd hold it like this. And when the car came back, the bicycle would come back, we'd stab that shit into the guy's front fucking wheel. Bike go flying. We'd grab the food. All right. And we'd eat. So I believe when Sammy had this chicken parmesan hero, I believe it was he did that on a motorcycle. He was riding a motorcycle, pull up to the delivery guy, snatch the food, and take off. Someone might have been on the back of the motorcycle. I don't remember. But yo, he took that eggplant parmesan or chicken parmesan. Ronnie Dangerfield was kind of like yelling at us, like just like on stage, like we're all sitting at these benches. He's like, like just going off because his window was up above, and I guess we make a lot of noise and shit. Sammy came up, D3 with the eggplant, smushed it in his face, like, oh, fuck you. You have no respect, Rodney. No respect, this, that. And it's like, yo, towards adults. We didn't fuck with it. Straight up and down towards adults. Yeah, we didn't let him on our inner circle, man. We didn't fuck around, man. Yeah. No, we weren't into that shit. No. And I guess that's what makes the rest of the graffiti community different than us. But, I mean, I remember this one guy, I've talked about it before, I'd always pull over. I'm out there trying to catch a tag and shit. Fucking guy wouldn't leave. He'd be like spitting his tongue out and doing all this crazy shit. And I'm like a little dude, man. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? So I remember once we were walking back from John Jay Park, about 4 or 5 of us. And he did that shit. And one of us, well, he's dead now. I could say I won't bother saying his name out of respect. But yeah, he ripped that fucking dude's face open, man. He ripped that fucking dude's face wide open. This was like an older man. He was like gray and like older than I am today, probably in his 60s. And he came up to him, and he was like 15, 16 years old. You know, the guy was calling him over the car window. He came out with a fucking razor right down the side. He even caught a little bit of the eyelid, because I remember being like, oh, like the whole side of the windshield just turned red. I was like, oh, and we like ran away and shit. And maybe 7, 8 months later, see the same fucking guy, right? Yeah, true. So yeah, it was wild, man. And yeah, I don't know, like how that conversation would take place. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the man. I'm probably going to get a lot of people that hate on me. But me, as a father, my son now is 23 years old. If when he was 16 years old and some dude that's like in his 40s or 50s or however old that guy was trying to get that dude would be hurting bad. And I mean, yeah, no. Like, even if it's not like the shit that I'm talking about, you're still putting a child's life in danger, like electrocution, getting ran over by trains. Hey, I'm with it. I understand. I've been hopping around in the train tunnels my whole fucking life. You know, like for real. I get it. Like back in the days, it wasn't even considered like a crime almost. I remember just walking from one station to the next just because it's late at night and I didn't want to wait for the fucking train. It's like, it was no big thing. Like nowadays, everyone's like, you know, it's become like the scary third rail and the this and the that. And the trains could come, you know, clearances. And, you know, it's like a whole big thing that people build up in their minds. It causes them like a severe fear of going into tunnels. It's just so taboo. But back in the days, like we were running around in and out of them things all life, man. Yeah, shit. I think the last time was maybe up until like 4 years ago, 5 years ago was the last time I went in a tunnel. Now I just don't do it because there's no reason to. No one's riding the subway no more except for a bunch of nut jobs. Like graffiti writers and most people in general, they kind of like just use the trains, you know, the cars and stuff. I mean, everyone's still where I work. They take trains to work and stuff, but it's not like the number one thing anymore. Like as when people were transitioning from the subways to the streets when the subways got clean, and a small percentage of them jumped onto the streets. Very small percentage of writers started going off on the streets. Everyone else just hung up their paint and said, I'm done with this shit. I'm going to get a job, make a living, and do what I do with my life or whatever, And that's what I could say about that. But in today's day and age, like I said, as a grown man, that thought does enter my mind. Like, not even about Henry himself. I mean, if he says jump off a bridge, you're going to follow? You know what I'm saying? And it's like they probably were the ones that initiated the action of actually going and writing graffiti and stuff like that. And also, you got to realize, I believe the footage with Cap, MPC, I don't know. Cap looks like a grown-ass man, so that might not count in his area. But you do see pictures of them with men and shit like that, and Duro and them, and they're taking pictures. And I might be 100% wrong, because that might have been the lady, Martha. Now, if it was a grown-ass woman, I don't want to go in the tunnel, You'd be like, hey, you do it. I'm just saying it's a little more understandable to me as a human being. But even then, man, we ain't fuck with adults like that, man. Yeah. Even like the old Italians in our neighborhood, we're like, man, fuck them, man. It was all about us. Like, we were out there, we were trying to conquer shit. It was like, yo, fuck everyone, man. It's like us versus the world. You're a teenager, it's. But I don't see how that shit flew. I kind of, like you can tell I'm speechless. I honestly thought that the way our mindset was about like a grown up, like chilling out with us, was fucking unheard of. Like, I figured that would be the way all five bounced. I mean, you look at fucking Daphne and the Babyface Killers, Central Park. I knew Chris very well. Not very well, but I knew his family, his Aaron and them that were related to him. And some like real estate agent was hanging out with them and this and that. And the girl was his boyfriend, girlfriend and stuff. And, he's like buying them beer and shit. He's like a grown ass man. They found that fucking dude floating in the fucking, Alice in Wonderland, the lake, the little homemade lake. It's like not the boating lake, but the actual, I believe it was in the Alice in Wonderland part. They found his ass floating around. No, it was a gazebos. Probably was the boating lake. I don't know. But yeah, they found his ass belly up, man. And they even got testimonies from them. Like, yo, man, we stabbed them up. We gutted them. Because, we heard that's what you got to do. So the person sinks. But apparently he didn't sink. He was a big fat guy. And yeah, they killed his ass. And the kid was like, I don't know, man. It was like all like, I'm a woman and shit. And let me put it this way. Even if, like, the families and all that of the dead guy and the families of the children that took this man's life, even in all that said and done, you're still talking about a fucking man that was in his late 30s, early 40s, talking to teenage kids, buying them fucking beer and going to Central Park. What the fuck is going through his fucking head? Huh? You tell me. How fucking innocent could that fucking possibly be? I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. I believe them children should have been given a fucking medal. Yeah. All right. Now, Fuzz passed away. Very sad. Didn't know the guy. I met him a few times in my life. I met him at D. Wildstyle's funeral, wake rather, at his wake. At Crikers over here. I can't really say nothing about him. I mean, he was out there like that, man. Yeah, that dude was up a lot. Like, when I was starting out and shit, it was all about Fuzz. Fuzz, Deli Bantu. It was going off. Definitely, he's someone that I sat back, like when he started doing that wallpaper shit, Fuzz, and then he would move it over a little bit with the F to the next step, Fuzz, so they all go like this down an angle. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, he would just cover shit like that. Fuzz was fucking the man, yo. Definitely. I just heard maybe an hour or two before this thing went off. I didn't know him. Never can say I actually hung out with the guy. Like I said, he was at Johnny Irish's wake. and I've seen him one or two other times. KK1 357 had got me a sign. It says Fuzz Old that he did for me. I actually gave that away to someone. I gave all of them my signs away except for the Annie and Tracy. It was the only signs I kept. I gave them all away. I literally gave them away. So I didn't want money for them or anything like that. I just wanted to pass them on to someone who I felt would do the right thing with them, And yeah, this Tracy I got right here. I don't know. I would like to get this fucking thing. Maybe I would talk to Ket or something like that with his museum and just like donate it there for a long time or something. Like I don't know. It's sitting here and it's kind of like, Tracy passed away and I feel almost greedy having the thing just sitting right here like that. Maybe I could donate it to them, but I mean, God forbid if I drop dead or some shit like that, then, just make sure my son would be aware of where it's located. And if it ever exchanges hands or something, just as long as it's okay with my son. But other than that, yeah, I got a real nice piece. I'd love to donate it to that Museum of Graffiti. And I wouldn't it would just be for Tracy. I wouldn't donate it and like a week later say, yo, let me get that thing back. I'm talking like you guys hold on to that shit for a while, because I really do feel like it's just sitting here and it's honestly starting to yellow from smoking weed and people smoking cigarettes around it for the past God knows how long. But I'll show it to you. You see it? Look at this. I was like, yo, what the fuck is YC? And he's like, TRA. This is Tracy. You got it? TRACY. Tracy. I think you fucking nut, bro. But yeah. This was actually never hung up. I actually got this street sign before they hung it up. They were ready to hang it up, but they had to lean against the pole. I took that shit and rode away. Yeah, I was on a bicycle carrier. This on a fix. Yeah, it was like woo woo woo. It's so big. Yeah, yeah. I'll hang it up when I'm done. I'm over here trying to get it on the nail. I'm getting short and I'm shrinking in my old age, But where were we? Yeah. So as far as it goes with graffiti and being an art movement and stuff like that, I liked it personally when it was quiet. It was like a secret society. Like I said, how I figured out Des was Des from watching that movie. And I love shit that's a do, And I miss that. I miss those days when people could stay anonymous and write graffiti. And I mean, Bansky or whatever, Banksy. He's got the right idea. It's made his shit a lot more marketable. What's hard to get or unattainable becomes expensive. I don't know why I'm saying so many times. This is my first recording here with you guys. Bear with me. What else was there? Yeah, Fuzz. Didn't know him. Conversations I had with him, he seemed kind of cocky. Almost like he was trying to have a pissing contest with me. Yeah. I mean, I get that from a lot of people. Just, yeah, that I will say about him. I mean, I'll hold against him. He hung out with some people that were crossing me out a few years before that, like when the trains were still moving. So maybe that had something to do with it. maybe that had something to do with my opinion towards him. Maybe that made me myself have a negative energy. That's possible too. Or maybe it's really just him and me both together. It's just friction. But he didn't appear to be someone I'd be close with. Although I know a lot of people are cocky and bullies and shit like that. That's like all my people. But him, it was, it's probably just the fact that he hung out with a lot of people that I wasn't fucking with. So that might have kind of tainted my opinions of him. But yeah, when I did talk to him and was having conversations with him, he seemed cocky. Like the spotlight's on me, all me, And I guess I'm probably the same way. So it would be hard for someone to get along with someone that's like a mirrored image of them. That's possible. Yeah, rest in peace, Fuzz, man. I'm just being honest. You guys didn't ask me about him. People have sent me direct messages or shared images of the fact that he had passed away. But no one has actually asked me, so what's your opinions on this? I should do an episode on this. That didn't happen. But people were asking me about my opinions towards the movie Star Wars. And I think it was brilliant, Star Wars. I think it was amazing. I think it sparked a lot of interest in graffiti around the world. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, like I said, I don't know. I preferred how it used to be. I prefer, of course, who wouldn't prefer riding on trains, right? Over just stupid streets and shit. And the characters of writers, the people that actually wrote the graffiti, they carried themselves differently than the ones today. I wouldn't say there was more unity. I would, because nowadays, I don't know, like no one really got beef with anyone really nowadays. I mean, I always got people fucking with me trying to take my shit out. It's like I'm a cheat code to becoming famous in graffiti. I was just experiencing that over the summer. I had someone, I don't know what the fuck was their deal. Never even bothered to ask or figure out what the fucking shit said. But yeah, someone took out a couple of things I did, and I was like, yeah, fuck, didn't really think much of it. But that's just, that's how it is with me. Like, a nobody could do the same thing to them, and they'll just keep going on. But the minute, like, I bump into them, or the minute this and that, oh, no, it's no, because I'm a cheat code. Like, I am the one you want to go after to become famous in the graffiti world. And I don't know, getting back to this whole Henry thing, him being a grown man videoing children and how would you say, encouraging illegal behavior, endangering the welfare of children. I would look at it this way now with someone going over me, like a child. I mean, I don't know. I don't think people start as young as we did, but like, how am I going to be beefing with someone that's like 15, 18 years old? Like, that's crazy. That would be bad. Anyone that has a brain, would understand it. Like, there's just certain things you can't fuck with in this world. It's like you not allowed, I guess would be the term. And it's just, what a child, like, starts crossing out your graffiti. What do you fucking do? You know what I mean? Like, think about that. And nowadays, like, what does a grown adult do when a child goes over graffiti? There's nothing he can do. Like, what can you do? Think about it. What can you honestly fucking do? They won. The child wins, which is the way it should be. I don't see how else to put that. I'm thinking of it, it's like, in the summer, I get loose. I go out, I do a little something here and there, and it's like a magnet. People just come right to it, motherfucker, RD, And it's like little kids. Like, what the fuck can you do? Yeah, that's interesting shit. It's like there's no response. All you can do is stay quiet. I mean, retaliate against them. You beat them up, threaten them. Chances are I'm the age of their grandmother or something. I could have been sexually active with their grandmother in the 80s or something. Who knows? Oh, maybe they're my grandkid. No, I know, where I've been, man. That ain't me, man. I never left no children unabandoned out there. Not my style. What else was there, people? What else was there? Charlie Kirk, rest in peace. Uh-huh. Yeah. And Fuzz, man. Yeah, that's he was out there like that, man. Fuzz, man. Yeah, people that lived through it and rode the trains back then and had an understanding of graffiti, they knew. You can't deny Fuzz that shit, man. Take care of yourselves, man. I hope you guys had a good summer. I'm back. Yeah, I know I'm a few days later than normal, but yeah, I did do a live and stuff like that. All right, people. Thank you. Looking at this, I might be wrong. I had a lot of signs in my life, but I'm noticing you can clearly see here. Look, hey, you can clearly see that this was actually hung up, but it couldn't have been hung up for long because this inking never faded or buffed out or anything. So, but yeah, I just noticed that, and I didn't want to misinform people, but you can see right here, it's clearly been hung up. I must have mistaken it for a different sign. I just noticed that. I want to be honest. So yeah, but the Whitney Museum of American Art, I was like, yo, I gotta get Tracy to do that shit. I thought it was a cool idea, being like American graffiti, American art. I thought that was a good idea. Just like this one here, I had men write on it. If you look closely, it says Ed. You see it? Ed Koch. It says Ed Koch, Queensboro Bridge. Trucks use lower roadway. VIA East 61st Street. But it don't say East. It just says E, 61st Street. And I thought of Min when I got that, too, because of Ed Koch. You know how Ed Koch and Min in the movie Star Wars. Yeah. When he's like, yo, if they do this and that, and trying to negotiate, they're like, yo, let us ride on some trains, which it's kind of far-fetched. But yeah. So yeah, those are cool signs. And I had a bunch of signs with people's tags on them, and like I said, I gave them away. What else was there? Also, other people that I've seen up and was expecting to see in that movie Star Wars was T Kid. I mean, he's like my favorite when it comes to style and stuff. T Kid, can't go wrong with a nice old T Kid piece, man, from back in the days. A lot of dudes, man. TMT guys like Cade and stuff like that. I mean, Scheme was in it, but I don't know, maybe at that point in life, Fed too, stuff like that. Mitch 77. I was curious. I mean, Mitch 77 was really doing some shit. Mitch 77. Yeah. Trying to think who else. There's a lot of influences that didn't make it into that. See, I really wasn't fucking with or didn't know Brooklyn or Queens at that point in my life. I wasn't even fucking around with PK and those guys, Ripe and shit like that, Nash, OA. I didn't know any of those guys yet. It's just an IRT dude. Like where I would get my shit would be either the Bronx or somewhere in Manhattan. Uh, yeah, I was a Bronx Manhattan writer, like Uptown, Bronx, and Harlem, and Manhattan. Yeah, Moose and Dell. Yeah, Moose and Dell. Moose 106. And I see him, he's on Instagram. Yeah, Moose 106. Big influence. Of course, FDT 56. So I was just talking about that on my live. I would say Zephyr and Revolt, but they were in like some outtakes that I saw later on in life. Yeah. I said part TDS and all. Yeah. Who else? We had Des in there. There's a lot of those writers off the sixes back in the days, That's mainly my line. The 6 train is the line I rode. It's my home stop. Also the N and the R and shit like that. But if I was to get on the N and the R, it was never to go to Brooklyn or to go to Queens. It was to go to like the theater district, like 40 Dukes and shit like that. To go kind of west from where I am, Chelsea, something like that. Like dentist appointments when I was young. School, when I was in the truancy program, I had to take the double R. Yeah, a lot of Bo. I remember Bo back then. Quick, Men, RTW, they destroyed that shit. KGB guys, abuse and stuff like that. Renegade Renard, Ren. I talk about that a lot. Cess, Cess TBK. Yeah, that would be all before Star Wars, before the movie came out. There's a couple other dudes also. Yeah, you had like the Go Club, also team. Yeah, all right, guys. Boom. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you like my new laptop. I think I sound better. Like I could go over here and talk. Like I think the speaker is better, right? Let me test that out. Let me talk over here. Right now I'm over here. Can you still hear me? Hey yo, taxi. Hey, hello. That's just me testing my range. I'll see how it comes out in the video. Peace. Wait, what else was there? I clicked this thing back on, man. There was something else. I know I'm forgetting. Something else. Fuck it. I'll talk to you next time, man.